So I've talked a lot about Sweden before, but and I guess the I wanted to talk about it more because it just keeps getting worse in Sweden. And the reason why Sweden in particular is Sweden's basically the biggest diversity experiment that's gone on in the West in the last generation or so, especially recently. And the results clearly are not very good. I mean, I don't even understand how people can argue against it anymore. Now, like I said, the reason why the left will argue in favor of diversity always is it helps them. Then for the simple reason that you never see the left arguing for or wanting diversity in an area that would hurt them. You never see them pointing out an area where white men are underrepresented in us in them pointing out, hey, we got to get more white men in this area, or they'll never point out the fact that uh, you know university professors are like 90% leftists and be like, hey, we got to get more conservatives in teaching university kids. Like they never do that. And if they actually cared about diversity, then they would do that, but they don't. So they don't actually care about it. They care about it when it benefits them and when it would benefit people that are, typically going to support them. That's why they want minorities from the third world because they overwhelmingly vote for them, 75, 80%. And then that's why they always want women at higher positions, in more positions because women are more likely than men to vote for the left, especially white women and whatnot. But and they always want they don't want women to be more represented in prison or suicide, for example, where men are like, I think 80% of suicides and like 90% of prisoners. They never point that out and be like, hey, we got to get the male prison population percentage down. We got to get the male suicide rate down. They never do that. So they only care about it when it benefits them. And for all the people that are willing to defend them, honestly, like shame on you basically because you don't care. If you actually cared, you would consider it both ways. You wouldn't just do it when it just supports the left. And getting to this too, this is from Peter Sweden. He's a good follow on Twitter if you don't follow already. But he says rapes in Sweden just getting worse. The preliminary rape statistics for 2019 are in a whopping 8,350 rapes last year. That's a 6% increase from 2018, which saw 7,840. It's getting worse every year. The madness must stop. And the 2018 numbers were already record numbers. So, like I said, this stuff's going to keep getting worse and worse and worse until people realize, hey, diversity isn't our strength. It's not that everyone's bad too. I always have to point this out too. There's plenty of great, Africans and people from the Middle East that are perfectly fine, great character, good individuals that I wouldn't mind having in Canada or whatever. The problem is that immigration needs to be done on a much, much, much smaller scale, and for the simple reason that you need time for people to integrate, you need time for housing to catch up with demand, and you need to make sure that there's enough jobs to support this kind of stuff because the way it's currently being done, a lot of them are, well, the overwhelming majority of them aren't working, therefore they're on welfare. And that's costing the countries and the provinces or the states a ton of money. And if you're on the left, you don't care because debt, who cares about debt? That's a great thing. But if you're on the right, you understand math and you know that that stuff can't last. And you also understand that another thing too, the big point I wanted to point out is that for all the people on the right who aren't speaking out against this kind of stuff, and even moderates, especially moderates, where are you? Because like I said, these people are overwhelmingly leftist, and if you care about getting moderate or conservative policies implemented, like in Canada, if we keep going down this path, it may never happen again. And if you care about it, then you need to be speaking up, or else your political opinions are basically worthless. You might as well just not even vote, not even ever be politically active in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about that. The other point I wanted to bring up too is that where are the feminists? Now, like I say, feminists are the same. It's the same as the other reason. They only care when it can benefit women at the expense of men. That's why you'll hear the feminists always talk about we need more, women in STEM. We need more, people managing businesses and CEOs of businesses that are women. But yet you never talk about, hey, we need more women, we need to get the percentage of prisoners more even. We need to get more plumbers that are women. We need to get more construction workers that are women. They never say that because those aren't the really really appealing jobs in society. And if they actually cared about equality, they'd want all of it. They'd want maybe more women in STEM and in more CEOs and whatnot, but they'd also want more women plumbers and electricians and construction workers. But they only want it when it's the really appealing jobs, which is the same reason with the left and immigration is that they want it when it benefits them, but when it doesn't, they all of a sudden the morals and ethics don't really matter anymore. So that's kind of all I had as far as this video goes. I thought I'd make another video about it because a lot of times people kind of forget about just how bad things are getting in some areas. Now there is a lot of people that want to make the Debbie Downer argument. I understand there's a lot of aspects of society that are good, namely the job numbers and the economy in the states, mostly thanks to someone like Trump. But um, the reason why is that if we don't fix the stuff that's going on, well then things are gonna never gonna get better. If you don't know what the problem is, then how are you gonna create a solution? And a lot of the people that point out, oh, you're just a Debbie Downer kind of thing, they're just people that don't want to do anything because the old adage is knowledge is power. With great power comes great responsibility. Those kind of sayings. And then if people can continue to be ignorant on issues, then they can view in the back of their head that, hey, I'm not responsible for the problem. I didn't know this stuff was going on. But the minute they're educated on this kind of stuff, all of a sudden they're responsible for it because they understand that it's going on. And if they stay quiet, well, then they feel like they're kind of liable for it. Like if you've seen the kid, in school getting bullied, and you had the power to do something about it, you feel pretty bad for it. But if you don't see him getting bullied, if you can pretend that he's not getting bullied, then you can have a good conscience because hey, I didn't see it, I didn't know what was going on. So that's kind of why people always want to, people like claiming ignorance and being ignorant is that they can pretend like they didn't have any input on the matter, and they couldn't do anything to fix the problem. But anyway, I think I'll leave the video there. I got the point across pretty good. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.